Under the dazzling lights of fame, even the brightest stars have moments when their glow flickers. Moments that remind us that behind every smile on the red carpet lies a story, often untold. And today that story belongs to Xiao Zhan, whose name once again dominates headlines as his new drama, The End of 10 Days, finally becomes official. As the announcement hit the media, excitement surged like a tidal wave. On every platform, fans celebrated, speculated, and held their breath. After all, when Xiao Zhan's name appears beside a project, expectations don't just rise, they soar. But beneath that storm of anticipation, there's something deeper, something personal, raw, and beautifully human about this moment in his journey. Because for Xiao Zhan, The End of 10 Days isn't just a return to the screen. It's a return to himself. The official cast reveal left everyone buzzing: 3 powerhouse leads, an ambitious storyline, and a creative team determined to build something extraordinary. But what truly captured people's attention wasn't just the grandeur of it all. It was the symbolism. The sense that this wasn't just another role for Xiao Zhan, but perhaps a reflection of everything he's lived through, the battles he's fought, the silence he's endured, and the strength he's found when the world went quiet around him. The drama itself unfolds in a world filled with complex relationships, moral dilemmas, and quiet heartbreak. It's a story about choices, about the pain of holding on and the courage it takes to let go. And somehow, it feels like the perfect mirror to Xiao Zhan's own evolution. Fans have already begun predicting what kind of character he might portray. A man torn between duty and emotion, burdened yet brave, perhaps someone who hides his pain behind calm eyes but never loses his compassion. And if that's the case, there may be no one better suited for the role. Because Xiao Zhan has lived that duality. He knows what it's like to be loved and criticized in the same breath. He knows how it feels to stand alone in the storm and still find the will to rise again. There was a time when his name filled the internet, not for his artistry but for a controversy he never intended. When the digital noise became deafening, he did something unexpected. He stepped back. He went silent. In an industry that demands constant visibility, he chose invisibility. And in that quiet he found clarity. Those months away from the spotlight were more than just a pause. They were a transformation. He spent that time rebuilding, not his image but his spirit. And when he returned, it wasn't with anger or defensiveness but with grace. He didn't speak loudly, he let his work speak for him. That's what makes The End of 10 Days so powerful before it even airs. It's not just another drama. It's a metaphor for healing, redemption, and endurance. For many fans, watching Xiao Zhan step into this new role feels like witnessing the next chapter of his rebirth. Social media platforms exploded within minutes of the announcement. Fan communities began analyzing every detail, from the color of the teaser posters to the symbolism in the title. Some predicted it would be a psychological thriller. Others believed it might explore morality and guilt, the kind of deep human storytelling that Xiao Zhan has always gravitated toward. No matter the theory, one thing became clear. Audiences weren't just excited, they were emotionally invested. And that emotional investment, that ability to make viewers feel before the first episode even drops, is what sets Xiao Zhan apart. He doesn't just draw attention, he creates connection. When you watch him act, you don't see a celebrity performing. You see a man translating his own experiences into art. That authenticity, that vulnerability, is what keeps people watching until the very end. Even producers and directors have acknowledged it. They've said that Xiao Zhan brings something rare to every project, a sincerity that can't be faked. It's not just talent, it's truth. And in The End of 10 Days, that truth might just break hearts, in the best possible way. Because the show's core isn't about glamour or spectacle. It's about the human condition, about the quiet battles we fight when no one is watching. It's about guilt, forgiveness, love, and the price of survival. Behind the scenes, the production team has been building anticipation with quiet precision. They've released haunting teasers, artistic posters, and emotionally charged music that lingers in your mind long after the clip ends. Each element seems to whisper the same promise. This will be more than a show. It will be an experience. And that promise has turned the series into a cultural moment even before its premiere. On social media, hashtags connected to The End of 10 Days trend within minutes. Fan-made edits are already going viral, blending Xiao Zhan's past performances with imagined scenes from the upcoming show. It's as if the audience can already feel the weight of what's coming, the intensity that only Xiao Zhan can deliver. But perhaps the most moving part of all this isn't the hype. It's the reflection. Because as people talk about this drama, they're not just discussing entertainment. They're discussing emotion. They're talking about resilience, morality, and the cost of empathy in a chaotic world. It's as if the end of 10 days has become a mirror, not just for its cast but for its audience. In the middle of it all stands Xiao Zhan, calm, grounded, quietly radiant. He's learned something that few in his position ever do, that true influence doesn't come from noise, but from meaning. He's turned every criticism into motivation, every heartbreak into art, every silence into strength. And maybe that's why fans feel such deep admiration. They don't just see a handsome actor. They see a survivor, a dreamer, a person who has walked through fire and emerged softer, not harder. There's something profoundly human about that. And that humanity, that emotional honesty, is what makes his work linger long after the screen fades to black. As the end of 10 days draws near, audiences are filled with both excitement and reflection. They're not just wondering what twists the plot will take, they're wondering how it will make them feel. Will it break their hearts? Will it heal them? Will they see a piece of themselves in the characters, in Xiao Zhan's eyes, in the pain and hope woven through the story? At Celeb Buzz Insider we've covered countless headlines, but few stories carry this kind of emotional resonance. Because what we're witnessing isn't just the making of a hit drama, it's the rebirth of an artist. A man who's proving that fame is fleeting but authenticity endures. There's a quiet lesson in his journey, one that extends far beyond entertainment. It's about resilience. It's about grace. It's about the art of rebuilding when the world watches, and doing it with humility and heart. Xiao Zhan's career has never been just about roles or awards. It's about storytelling, the kind that bridges the gap between screen and soul. And as he steps into this new chapter, audiences aren't just waiting to see how the character survives 10 days. They're waiting to see how Xiao Zhan himself continues to redefine what it means to be an artist in an era of noise. Because if there's one thing we've learned from his path, it's that strength doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it stands still. And sometimes it smiles, even after everything. When the end of 10 days finally premieres, it won't just mark a new milestone in his career. It will mark the continuation of a story that millions have followed, felt, and believed in. A story not about perfection but perseverance. Not about fame but faith. Faith in oneself, in art, and in the quiet power of resilience. And as the countdown begins, one truth remains clear. Xiao Zhan isn't just coming back to our screens. He's coming back to our hearts. Because the most powerful performances don't just entertain. They remind us that even in a world full of chaos, humanity still shines through. And that's what the end of 10 days, and Xiao Zhan himself, are truly about. This has been Celeb Buzz Insider, where we go beyond the headlines to explore the heart behind every story. If Xiao Zhan's journey moved you, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories that touch the soul. Because behind every star there's a story worth feeling.